SMP Earth, the youngest geopolitical server on Minecraft, has had many nations all around the globe. They all have different ideas, land, power, and influence, but one nation has stood out to a majority of the audience since day one: the Antarctic Empire. Arguably not as active these days, but still has been through a lot of wars and conflicts. I last left off before the Battle of the Pit, so let's start continuing the story. But first, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and make sure you've hit the bell icon as well. Before I start the story, I already have a video on some of the events being covered in this video, so I'm not going to go into depth with all of them. All of my previous Antarctic Empire war videos will be in the description, but let me tell you the events that I am covering in this video. The Battle of the Bridges, the Antarctic Empire's villager farm, Phil's iron farm, the Wednesday War, the assassination of Alfred the Chicken, and the Sicily ambush as well. We have a lot of topics to cover, so let's get right into this. So we start off in southern Africa. At this point in time, the Antarctic Empire had most of their colonies overwritten or just plain out deleted, so Technoblade opted to claim a very large portion of Africa. There were no countries in South Africa. The majority of African countries were either located in the top of Africa or in the middle. Because of this, Techno said fuck it, and claimed the entirety of southern Africa. No, not the country, just the entirety of South Africa. After this, Techno flew back to his base and was just walking around the Empire's claim and building his castle. Suddenly though, Tommy Innit got a hit. A hit on who, you may ask? Philza. You see, Philza was flying around doing errands when Tommy got this hit, so Tommy's plan was to 1v1 Philza. Tommy chased after Philza, but got so far behind because Phil had the fastest plane on the server, and Tommy didn't. After a slow flight, Tommy arrived at the Antarctic Empire's bridge and demanded to fight Philza. He was quickly met with a no, and suddenly, Technoblade came into render distance riding a minecart. Tommy was scared that Techno might hit him with it, but he was able to dodge it the first time. Tommy kept advancing when Techno came back around the other way and hit him for a few hearts of damage. Tommy then fired at Techno but missed. He then quickly severed the track so that no one would be able to launch a minecart at him ever again. Techno and Pete didn't realize this and launched a dual minecart rush at Tommy, which failed because Tommy built a wall in between them. Though shortly after this, Techno shot Tommy with his flame bow, and Philza shot him with his gun, which caused Tommy to die. After respawning, Tommy flew back to the Antarctic Empire and collected his items, but not all of them. The Antarctic Empire had taken some of his items. He attempted to get them back, but was scared off back to the business bay by Pete and Techno. Techno then got Wilbur involved in the conflict and arrived at Business Bay with Charlie as well. They attacked Tommy and killed him a few times. After that, the human duels occurred, in which Tommy dueled Wilbur in a 1v1, well, sorta, battle. The two fought until Tommy ate a golden apple, which caused Wilbur to call in Charlie. The two then killed Tommy. The treaty was signed, which had a few points, but the main one was that the Antarctic Empire and the Business Bay had to become neutral for 4 days. Some fans that look at the Dynamap may have noticed that Techno was actually on the SMP server quite often, but he did not stream it most of the time. Many wondered what he was doing, until he revealed it. Other than working on the castle, Techno was creating a huge villager farm. He wanted the best villagers possible. It took him a long time to get the majority of the villagers he wanted, but after hours upon hours of breeding, he got them. He got all the villagers he wanted, all of the items he needed, but there was one more thing. There was hundreds of villagers Techno deemed useless just lying around now. Techno decided to make an orphanage and slowly transported all of these villagers there. After a while, all of the now deemed orphans were in the orphanage happily ever after, right? No. Orphanages never end happily. Philza decided to experiment with an airstrike, and well, you can watch what happened.
Oh god.
Fuck the orphans. Fuck them.
No! No!
Pete, I would get away from there.
Oh! No!
Philza then created the Antarcticans' first iron farm, so that they would no longer have to mine for any iron. With all this newfound wealth, the Antarcticans decided to test the power of axes in 1.14 combat, as most of them were used to 1.8.9 mechanics. Philza was kicked out from the Empire temporarily, and through some experiments, the axes were very effective against shield users. They also tested the power of airstrikes by calling an airstrike onto Philza, who had really good, if not the best armor, and it killed him very quickly. The group was shocked, and then noted the power that is airstrikes. Philza was then re-invited back into the Empire, and then they prioritized making axes due to Business Bay use of shields in combat. One short note to put here is that Packle did declare war on the Antarcticans for a charity stream, but they never really had any real battles or wars. The only sort of conflict that occurred was the paintings Phil placed and the stealing of Packle's Packle. On this day, Technoblade started his livestream, and Tommy did as well. They were both near Technoblade's castle in Antarctica, and had one intent: to fight to the death. After some chatting, and Tommy exploring a bit of the castle, the two began dueling. Technoblade was instantly ahead because he had much better armor and weapons than Tommy. This advantage caused Tommy to die within 30 seconds. Tommy even tried to escape in a plane once he realized he was outmatched. Then after this, Tommy came back to retrieve his items. When then, Philza arrived, and there was soon a 2v1 taking place, and again, Tommy was slain. Tommy then realized he wouldn't be able to beat Techno as he had better gear and arguably better skill. The two then flew to South Africa and arrived at a large conspicuous desert. Techno noted that there was probably a fall trap somewhere, and he was right. Tommy tried to make an entity cramming trap, but failed to get Techno to fall for it. Tommy then spent the next 40 minutes dying and attempting to get Techno and some other people into the pit until it was eventually dismantled. I'll now read an excerpt from my The Great War video. They eventually agreed to have one big team brawl, the teams being Techno, Sneeg, and Phil fighting for the Antarctic Empire, and Tommy, Sylvie, and Grunk fighting for Business Bay. They had a countdown, and soon battle ensued. Techno instantly chased after Grunk, and after some skirmishing, Techno had taken very little damage and had slain him. Tommy instantly chased after Sneeg because he was in gold armor. Tommy thought this would be an easy kill, but Sneeg was just toying with him, and he was just wasting Tommy's time. Techno and Sneeg then teamed up on Tommy, and eventually after knocking him into the ocean, killed him too. Sylvie was still holding her own against Philza though, but then Sneeg and Techno joined in, which caused Sylvie to flee by plane, making the battle a 3-0 victory for the Antarctic Empire. After this, the group then flew over to Business Bay and signed the Treaty of the Pit, whose terms were to buy the Technoblade U2s. Tommy would make Technoblade a cow farm. The Antarctic Empire and the Business Bay members would be neutral for 3 days. Technoblade would pay $20,000 to Tommy in it, and Technoblade must be referred to as an alpha male at all times. On this day, Connor Eats Pants from Connor Esports made his return to SMP Earth, following a long period of inactivity. He then went to the Antarctic Empire and was met by Technoblade. They toured around a bit, but then Connor aimed a gun at Derek, one of the Antarctic Empire's pets, but when releasing his bow, he accidentally killed Alfred. Techno was furious. The chicken he went on a journey with and sailed around the world with was dead. Techno then got in his plane to attempt to chase the flying Connor. They have a brief aerial duel, but then the two landed and had a ceasefire. Connor was trying to talk Techno out of killing him when he suddenly tried to sneak attack Techno. Techno saw this as a foolish attempt at murder and quickly slayed Connor. After this, the Sicily ambush happened, and I have a video on it already, so let me read the quick rundown summary the wiki has. While both Techno and Pete rendezvoused with Connor at the latter's base in Sicily, they were suddenly ambushed by a raid party consisted of Savioshi, Karakorvis, and Wuna 301. Techno, however, was forced to retreat and logged out, as he was not streaming, thus unable to capture the events live for content. On the other hand, Pete was flying in circles above the Sicilian skies during the period of the ambush, evading multiple attacks from the raiders. The ambush ended in a stalemate from everyone that decided the war would be scheduled at a later date. I'm not going to talk about the raid of Bean, New York, as the Antarctic Empire was not really involved, but if you want a full-fledged video on it, let me know in the comments section down below, and I'll be sure to make that. But hey, this is where we're going to leave off in this part of the Antarctic Empire history. On the next part, we will cover events like the New Year's Day War and the invasion of the Antarctic Empire by Business Bay. and anything that happens from now until the making of that video. Thanks for watching this video though. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm going to take my leave now. See you all later.